and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jody, and on my channel, I talk about Broadway, and I also talk about books. And in today's video, I will continue my Broadway show series where I talk about every Broadway show I ever saw. Over the 20 years I was seeing Broadway shows on a regular basis. So as per usual with the series on my channel, I'll go over who was in the cast of my performance, who was on the creative team, how I like the show, any favorite songs and moments I have in the show, and anything interesting I may find in the playbill along the way. So without any further ado, let's get on to today's show. So today I'll be talking about the 22nd Broadway show I ever saw, which was the 2002 Broadway revival of a show you might have heard of before called Into the Woods. So I saw the show in June 2002 on a bus trip at the Broadhurst Theater, which is now the current home to A Beautiful Noise, the Neil Diamond musical. So now let's get on into what is in the playbill. So this is the page with the credits of everyone involved in this production of Into the Woods in 2002. And this is the page with all the headshots of the whole entire cast. And the page with the cast list. And then the page that lists all the understudies. Right there. Okay, so now I'll get on into who was in the cast of my performance. This had a really great cast. Many of these performers, it was my first time seeing them in a Broadway show. So I didn't know like who anyone was with the exception of one person. And I'll get to that in a moment. So this had a great cast, like I said. You had Vanessa Williams, John McMartin, Laura Benetti, Greg Eldman, Stephen DeRosa, Carrie O'Malley, Mary Louise Burke, Christopher Sieber, Adam Wiley, Chad Kimball, Linda Mulston, and Kate Renders. Those are the names I recognize from, having seen them in television or movies or Broadway since I saw them in this show. So the only performer that I was aware of who they were before I saw this show was Christopher Sieber, and that's because in the early 2000s, he starred in a sitcom with Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen called Two of a Kind, and I love that show. So I was totally aware of who Christopher Sieber was, and it was like so cool that I was getting to see him in a Broadway show. Like I didn't realize he was also like a theater performer as well. I just knew him from television before that, so it was super cool to see him in the show. And I've gone on to see him in Spamalot and The Prom, probably other shows I can't remember at the moment. But yeah, I also got to wait at the stage door after I saw the show, and I did get to meet Christopher Sieber. So that was super cool. I also got to meet Carrie O'Malley and Adam Wiley. I didn't bring a Sharpie marker when I was at the stage door. I only brought like a regular pen. So I have 3 signatures on the playbill, but they're not super visible. But I thought I'd share it anyway. There's a signature there, here, and there. It's so not visible on camera. It's barely visible in person, but that was part of my, experience for the day. So I just thought I should share that. I did get to wait at the stage door, and I got to meet some of the cast, which was super cool. And now for the creative team. Well, if you're familiar with Broadway theater, you're already aware that Stephen Sondheim wrote the music and lyrics for the show. It was a Stephen Sondheim show. James Lapine did the book, wrote the book, I should say. Susan Helferty did the costume design. The lighting design was by Brian McDevitt. Who else? The musical direction was by Paul Giamatti. I'm pretty sure I pronounced his last name wrong because Paul Giamatti is like a famous actor who we all know from movies, but the names look very similar. But it's not the Paul Giamatti from like TV and movies. He's a Broadway conductor, musical director, I guess I should say. But yeah, I've seen him. I think he's been a part of other Broadway shows that I've seen as well. The choreography was done by John Carafa. Probably pronounced the last name wrong. Sorry. And then the show was directed by James Lapine. So these are names that I recognize from having seen them work on other shows since I saw Into the Woods. It's always cool to look back on and see who worked on the show, So as far as how I like the show, I really liked Into the Woods. It was my first Stephen Sondheim show that I ever got to see, and it's definitely one of my favorites of his. I really like the aspect of, how the show was about, like, fairy tale characters that we all know from reading about, like, growing up, whether it be in books or movies or on television, but this show like put a spin to like, their story, where, the stories we know growing up, everything usually works out in the end. Everyone's perfect, and, life just works out in the end for everyone. And in this version with the fairy tale characters, um, it doesn't go quite according to plan. Things go, you know, you know, it's a bit of a roller coaster for the characters. You know, they're not perfect. They're flawed. And in that aspect, it's a very relatable story in many ways. And it's also about like, trying to learn to grow up and letting go. And it's just a really great story. I mean, it's been like 20 plus years, so I don't remember like absolutely everything about it, but I remember I liked the show. And sometimes when that much time has gone by and you remember you like a show that you saw 20 plus years ago, you know, that's that. But I'll just get to like some of my favorite musical numbers from the show. And honestly, I was reintroduced to many of the numbers from the score thanks to the Broadway revival that was on Broadway like maybe 2 years ago now. Yeah, like I would say, some of the songs I might have forgotten, but I was reminded when that musical revival reopened on Broadway, and I didn't get to see it, but that's how it goes sometimes. But yeah, I'll just get to those musical numbers that I liked. um, Here's the musical numbers from Act 1. And I guess Act 2, yeah, right there. Okay, so let's get to songs I liked. Into the Woods, the first number in the show, great number. Agony, that's probably one of my favorite numbers. It's just like, it's when the two princes like sing about like all the agony that they're going through. And I don't know, I like that song. It Takes Two. I don't remember how the song goes, but Giants in the Sky. I feel like I remember that song. Ever After is the number before Act 1. I guess the number before Act 2, like before intermission. The finale number of Act 1. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. No One Is Alone. Children Will Listen. Yeah, it's just like a really great score. It's Stephen Sondheim. Of course, it's going to be wonderful. Okay, so I think I'll talk about what's in the playbill now. Oh, I guess I'll talk about that, towards the end. There's a bit of a fun little story. Not really fun little story. I mean, if you saw I guess I'll just talk about it now. This production of Into the Woods at the Broadhurst Theater had something that the last revival did not include, and that is, what character was that for? I think, this is how you know I don't know how to edit videos, because we have all this extra time. Well, there was a storyline with, what character? Jack, Jack and the Giant. I forget. Yeah, there was a giant, like, like that storyline with, I forget what. Anyway, so there was a giant in the show, like, I probably was with Jack's storyline, and on top of the theater, for the Broadhurst Theater, when the 2000 revival production was there, they had like a giant like leg and foot, like from the top of the outside the theater, like near the marquee, and it was like outside the theater, and it was just like so incredibly cool. And yeah, it's that's just a little story. Also, it's interesting that this production didn't really last too long. I don't know if it was intended to be a limited run, but I believe it opened in March or April, and it only lasted till the end of the year. So it wasn't even on Broadway for a full year. So that was a bit surprising to learn, but it could have been a limited revival. I don't know. But I just thought I'd share that thing about the giant's leg and foot. Like, they did a whole sculpture that was like attached to the theater on the outside. It was just super cool. And yeah, I mean, you couldn't miss it if you were walking down the street. I just thought that was a really interesting aspect to the production, and something to this day I've never forgotten. So now for what is in the playbill. I love looking back in these playbills, because it's like a time capsule in a way of like what was going on Broadway at the time that I saw the show. So yeah. Saw the show in June of 2002. Oh, there's a little thing in here about, I guess, sisters in Broadway shows. And I have to, anytime I see something for Sideshow, I point it out. This is from Sideshow. I never saw the original production, but I saw the Broadway revival, and one of the best shows I've ever seen on Broadway. Let's see. I think this playbill had a lot in it that I found interesting. Oh wait, no, there's some stuff. There's some stuff. There was a Broadway advertisement for Flower Drum Song. Leah Salonga was in this show. I actually got to see this show, and I will be talking about it a few shows from now. But yeah, I really like this show as well. This played at the August Wilson Theater. Is it? Yeah. Yeah, it was called the Virginia Theater at the time. I was like, what, is it that the theater? Yeah. Let's see. Oh, there's an advertisement for the cast album for Into the Woods. I do have this album in it, yeah. I don't listen to the CDs as much as I should, but at the time I was like, I have to have every CD for every Broadway show. And then the thing where the performers are recommending Broadway restaurants. Kelly O'Hara's in this, and so is Danny Mastra Giorgio, who was in Contact, and Kelly O'Hara was in Sweet Smell of Success at the time. And I recently both talked about these shows. Contact was the last show I saw, and The Sweet Smell of Success was a show I saw right before that. So I thought I'd just share this. And, one more thing. Jonathan Friedman, Mary Tessa at the time were in a Broadway revival of 42nd Street, and I guess at the time they were both being honored with a picture at Sardi's. So there's that. I love Mary Tessa. She was in one of my favorite Broadway shows I've ever seen, Xanadu. I saw that Broadway show 10 times. Would have been 11, but the show closed. But she is absolutely fantastic. And then I guess I'll just share now what the next Broadway show is that I will be talking about, as it is my 23rd Broadway show that I ever got to see, and it hadn't even, at this moment in time, it hadn't yet started on Broadway. So that would be the highly well-known Broadway musical at this point, Hairspray. I got to see Hairspray in previews, and I'll get to how I came to learn about that show and got to see it way before it became a smash hit on Broadway. And yeah, super excited to talk about that show next, as it is my 23rd Broadway show. Yeah. So I hope you enjoyed today's video where I talked about my 22nd Broadway show that I ever saw, which was the Broadway revival of Into the Woods that I really liked. And yeah, if you ever get a chance to see Into the Woods, I highly recommend it because it's a great show. I still haven't actually watched the film adaptation yet. One of these days. I'll get around to it, but yeah. So that's today's video. As always, thank you so very much for watching, and until next time, bye!